Was this January?
No, since July 1st.
Oh, you are.
I go July 1st.
Why can't we just switch that and go to the
All right, the sign-in sheet's going around. You think it's a good morning?
No, I don't.
You're here for 5 contact hours. We'll be out of here at 12 o'clock. We'll take a couple breaks this morning. You have coffee and donuts, just get up, help yourselves. The bathroom's outside, right around the corner.
Where's the exits?
Remember, what? The exits are where the fuck you came in, that's where the, you see me running, Gene, just follow, that's where the exits are. Remember, the division gets a little testy, but we're here for 5 hours in case anybody says anything, because I gotta sign this sheet and verify it. So, we will be doing another one in the fall, early fall, so we'll do another seminar. I think I'm putting down, this is probably, I'm making a mistake here. This is technical. I don't think you get a choice of administrative or technical. So you have to put technicals down for all, right? And just scratch out there, right? Okay, so it's 0.5 technical. And then what we're probably gonna do in the fall is 2 things. We're gonna probably do another seminar daytime, and then for the part-time guys that can't make it, that are working, we'll do a seminar for nighttime. All right? I know because of the weather, we have about 20 guys that were signed up here for today, so there's a couple stragglers that'll come in. Like I say, very informal, get up, bathrooms are there, coffee's there. Anybody needs anything, see either Brian, Donnie Mornett, or Mark Henry, or Jimmy both. And it's all yours.
Thanks a lot.
And he came all the way from Boston today, was Winnebago, so I give him credit.
Well, we've done quite a few of these. How many here have gone either to the academy? We've done it at Sayreville, Camden, or Bergen. Anybody see Farscape that we did? So we went through Kane. So we have done this class many times, but the 6-hour course, but at the academy. So what we've done also is gone into smaller associations and held classes for continuing ed. And in some cases, when you have situations like this, we can actually go right to your city, and you can actually have your city pick up some extra credits, and we deal with you directly at the city, and then you make sure you send and get your credits up from the state. Okay? So what you have here today is you have some books there that we use nationwide on teaching a fire escape awareness class, fire officials, building officials, and housing inspectors. Maintenance guys. So the one thing you're probably going to find out is that this is Master Child of Egress. And as most firemen will teach other firemen, the older guys will teach younger guys in case of fire don't use the fire escape. There you go. So, and just recently, how many were aware of the Philadelphia collapse that put 3 on the ground and killed 1? 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago? Okay, so I have a little bit of the story. How many are aware that a week or so ago, in Colorado Springs, fire escape fell to the ground and a worker basically sliced his face off and dead on the scene? So what we have here is a fire escape, the fire escape awareness class, and what we're going to be teaching you is just what occurred, the perfect storm of stupidity, whereas codes are there, but people didn't really understand them or didn't know how to interpret them or write the violations. Violations stopped for a while. As a matter of fact, on the Philadelphia collapse, I taught a class last May to 50 building inspectors in the city. Yet, 9 months later, now everybody wants to know what to do there. And that's what we're trying to tell you, is that these fire escapes are 50, 75, and sometimes 100 years old. And the last time they got a good look at them, or a bolt change or anything, was 50 years ago. So something must have happened that allowed us to continue, and one of the issues is that in about 40 out of the 50 states, fire prevention handles the fire escape violations. In 10 out of the 50 states, it's building department. How many here are aware of the 2012 International Fire Code regarding fire escape maintenance? For 2012, now every building in the United States must be examined every 5 years. So the 5-year rule is coming. So whenever the International Fire Code comes, there's already the 5-year rule and must be examined or tested. Now, the International Building Code took it out in 2012. So by the time you cycle out, the International Building Code is now handed all over to the International Fire Code. which means that, and the report must be sent to the fire official, not the building official, because you guys are the ones. So what I have here is a collection of activities that I have over 40 years experience in this, that my dad hijacked me when I was 12 years old. So I have a master's degree in reverse stupidity. I know how to do everything wrong, and since I eliminated all the wrong ways of doing things, the only thing left was some of the right things. So there's a reason why I got into this many years ago, and that was the Channel 7 news piece, the Station Night Fire. You guys remember that? Right after that, Channel 7 in Boston wanted to do a piece on fire escapes, which I'll show you. And that's what started this awareness that this is not only here. It's every city that has buildings over 3, 4 stories, has a downtown that's 50, 75, 100 years old. All your fire escapes are hidden in the back and forgotten about because nobody cares. And until they stop dropping people, firemen, and vendors, and cities get sued, that's when they say, hey, how come you're not doing this? Because it's out of sight, out of mind. So what we have inside this book is I'm going to show you, I'm going to go through, if you want to open up briefly, we're going to talk to you about departmental procedures and guidelines. That's going to tell you, if you're going to have the thing examined by a design professional or others acceptable to the official, it's a standard guidelines. If you're going to have it repaired, there's standard guidelines. And if you're going to have it painted with today's lead law, there's standard guidelines. Okay? We're going to talk about OSHA. Some of you are going to find out a new OSHA, an existing OSHA code that you're not aware of that can help you basically put a building on notice that the first thing they're going to take care of is their fire escape, not the last thing while they're renovating and putting a couple of $1 million into a building. Industry standard confidence tests that you can just go online. This one happens to be one that we designed for, helped design for Seattle. So you go on seattle.org and you can download an industry standard confidence test, not an opinion letter from a design professional, but a confidence test with yes/no questions which scare the hell out of who?
Everybody.
Design professionals, right? We're going to talk about reports. With today's technology, if you're not getting digital photos of everything, if they're going to make you go out there and see how bad it is, you don't got time. With today's digital technology, it's ready to show you. A lot of these buildings are over 35,000 cubic, meaning they're supposed to have preliminary, control, design professional control. So in every state, there's documents to control just what is being done on in regards to that building and that fire escape. We're going to talk about industry standard documentation of how to repair a fire escape, which is pretty hard. It's change the bolt, remove the rust, and verify the connection into the wall. We're going to talk about how fire escapes are built. One of the things we're going to get out of here today is I will prove to you from cases, because I'm an expert witness in cases where people have fallen almost to their death or to their death, and also a case that we did here in New York about a fireman that fell through some staircases on a fire escape, that fire escapes rot from the inside out, not the outside in. So once you know that you're looking at a fire escape, and by the time it's fully rusted in visually surface rust, that rust started inside every connection on that fire escape. So that fire escape structurally is suspect. And you will never write another violation of scraping paint. You will write a violation that will always say, inspect it, repair it, test it. Okay, that's what we're going to teach you guys today. So we're going to show you how fire escapes have been built for 100 years and they haven't changed. So at different times, I'll go back to this book and show you how everything's built. These tags, Tacoma, Seattle, Portland, Oregon. Some cities are utilizing tags on their fire escapes. Imagine going to a fire escape and having a white tag on the fire escape that says it's certified, tells you who last certified it and when's the next 5-year cycle without having to go back to the firehouse or to the building department and find out when's the next certification due. It's on the fire escape itself, just like an elevator tag. So Seattle's already doing that. Portland, Oregon's already doing that. They're making tags mandatory on all fire escapes. We'll get you started. We're going to talk to you guys about how you're going to get the program started and get ready for a 3 to 5 year program. Because everybody's going to fight you. You know, you're going to do the right thing for your men, for the tenants, and even for the vendors that are going to be fixing this thing. But the city's going to fight you. The mayor's going to fight you. Councilmen are going to fight you, landlords are going to fight you, everybody in the city is gonna fight this thing, this sleeping giant that you want to awaken. Because it means they have to spend what? Right? And if you shut that fire escape down, you know, they can't keep their building active. So let me throw this right out at you. In case you have a bad fire escape anywhere, for $1,000, you can bring in some scaffolding and negate that fire escape temporarily while you deal with the situation. Okay? So it's not that you have to shut buildings down. We're not here to shut down buildings. But if you want to have an alternative means of egress, for $1,000, you can put a professional scaffolding company will come in and basically tie that building to the ground using scaffolding. And that might buy you some time to deal with a good client, a poor client, or a tenant, or a landlord. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna have some answers for you today, okay? And this is what happened here in Boston. Somebody may recognize the photo. So if you want to take this and you want to put this book in your office, put this as the poster. You know, stick this on the wall. And when somebody comes in and says, I can't afford it, and this happened in '73. This guy won a Pulitzer Prize for this photograph here, but basically the woman died from the 4th story. Her niece landed on her and survived, and that fireman grabbed the ladder, the fire ladder, with his one hand and saved himself. He's still alive today. So if that's the kind of gymnastics you have to learn in order to survive a fire escape rescue, okay? We're basically gonna come here and just make you aware that there's a problem, and as people start getting on these things, and you guys get on these things, and tenants go out for smokes on these things, because a lot of buildings are now smoke-free or whatever, it's gonna happen what happened here in Philadelphia. You know, birthday party, a guy and 2 girls were going out there for a smoke, stepped on the fire escape 4 stories up, a building that hasn't been looked at in 50 years in a high-end real estate area. But because they haven't had any violations in 50 years, the city has not been in that building in 50 years. Now, the lawsuit was just filed yesterday for the death of one of the 22-year-olds. The other 2 girls were all basically crippled, you know, with metal in their backs now and such. So, and as I go along, we can interact. Stop me at any time. I'm going to show you some codes. I'm going to show you all the codes that pertain. I'm going to talk about 1028.6. So this is one of those, it's not just me talking. If you agree or disagree, a lot of time when it's a code question, I'll have you guys fight each other, because a lot of time there's interpretations right within this room. So I'm not here to interpret code, I'm here to tell you what the code says and what it means that other cities nationwide how they're using it, okay? So let's get started. And feel free, you know, you can either raise your hand or just blast out a question, okay? So my name is Cisco Meneses. I've been at this, like I said, for 40 years. But I have one of 2 licenses available in the United States. I have it from the building department. I can inspect fire escapes in the city of Boston and the surrounding New England area. And so with that, I inspected all of Harvard University's fire escapes and signed off on them until this day. That's been for over 15 years. In LA, I have a Reg 4 license put out by the fire department. Cost $1,000, 100-question test. I got to go out with a fire official, and so there's a certification in California. And some of these things you guys can just copy and paste. So if you want to follow some great programs, Reg 4 in LA is a great program to copy. I can put you in contact with a fire official there. Portland, Oregon has a great program that they just built. Seattle just has a great program that they built, and a lot of that we're going to share here. And again, these people were behind the times until something happened, and I was brought out there because somebody fell to the ground also. Okay, so let's talk about just what the biggest issue is. You can tell by these hats, this is an old picture, but let me tell you how fire escapes are built. 100 pounds per square foot, okay? So what that means, if I have 100 pounds per square foot, and that's a 5x5, let's say, 5 times 5 is 25, 25 times 100 is 2,500 pounds that can take. So are those guys worried 50 years ago plus? So, and then if you have each guy on average weighs 250 pounds with all his gear, let's say, and they weigh more, I would need to put 10 guys in a 5x5, 10 firemen. I need to squish them into that space. So can a 5x5 take 10 firemen with all their gear? Can it? A 5x5, can you squeeze 10 firemen with all their gear in a 5x5? It would take double that in tenants. You need about 15 to 20 tenants in a 5x5, each weighing 150 pounds plus minus, to basically exceed the load. Got it? So when you're on these and they're certified, you can bring elephants with you, you're not going down. That's how they were built. They were overbuilt. So whenever there's a collapse, fire escapes do not collapse. If they're maintained, they never collapse. When they're not maintained, they won't hold a snowflake. Okay? So this is what, and they've been around since the 1850s, 1875. That was the answer. You got a lot of photographs down in Washington, D.C. Fire escapes became the answer because a lot of row housing had just one stair. Then they built the crossovers on the back. That was the first fire escape. A lot of it was just a crossover. You go from your window to your neighbor's window, kick in their window during a fire. Then crossovers because you went over a firewall. Then ladders became a part of these crossovers. Then staircases become a part of these crossovers. Okay? Let's talk about the code right now. Can I build a new fire escape today? Yes, you can. I can build fire escapes indefinitely on pre-existing structures. Can I build a fire escape now on new construction? No. So that's the law. People keep, sometimes say the wrong thing. You can maintain fire escapes indefinitely, and you can build a fire escape as a fire escape solution once you've exhausted all means in that building. So somebody comes in with a mansion, they're gonna make 4 condos, guess what's coming? 2 to 4 fire escapes are coming. Because a lot of times these mansions have a staircase in the middle of it, a wing to the left, a wing to the right. So I will put a fire escape on any building in the US indefinitely because that's the answer. Otherwise, that building is gonna get torn down. So to save a lot of these buildings, fire escapes have been the answer. If I dig a hole in the ground and I start putting up any new building, no fire escapes ever. Got it? Is everybody clear on that? So don't tell people you can't build a fire escape. Fire escapes are gonna save a lot of buildings from being torn down because it's gonna be the means. And now, is there a setback rule for fire escapes? No. No setback rule for fire escape. You cover that and you enclose it, now what do you got?
Then you got part of the structure.
Yeah, then it's a structural, you're adding a structure. So, an open fire escape. Now, there's also a fire escape and there's also a means of egress. So a lot of times when you go out a window, what are you going out to? Fire escape. When you go out a door, what are you going out to?
Means of egress.
A means of egress. Now, if I'm not mistaken, you guys got a lot of different laws that have come. I think one of them was the rehabilitation law.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden now, in some of these classes, you guys have said, if you touch this, I'm not going to get into that, but there are some things that will affect whether or not now it needs a cover or not, whether 24 has to go now to 36. Change of use means that sometimes, for example, a lot of schools are using buildings that were commercial buildings with inadequate fire escapes that have ladders or whatever. They were supposed to be amended or extended to be 36s and have staircases, no ladders. So every time somebody has a change of use on a building, there might be an upgrade requirement on the fire escape. You can't eliminate the fire escape, but there's an upgrade requirement coming, which is great for you because a lot of times you're taking away a 24 and you're putting in a 36. Instead of 8 and 8 rise and run, you're putting in a 36, 7-11, stairs all the way to the ground. Got it?
They got a whole thing in the Uniform Construction Code, Joey. It's right there, all about fire escapes in the pink section.
Is that the FTO? Oh. No, I'm saying
Yeah, I think it's a field technical opinion.
Right. Just be aware that that is out there, but some of that information on there, they're building fire escapes like it's 1920. 3-inch thick, 4-inch thick angles, it's monstrosity. You can't. That just helps somebody who's never touched one. Just so you know, today, the minimum is 2x2 by quarter angle to make your brackets. So you can get a lot skinnier. So even though that's there, that's just a guide, and if you read along, it says you can change any of this. You just have to have an engineer says that it meets 100 pounds, okay? All right. Codes. What we're going to talk about today is what you guys have in your code 1028.6 that you didn't realize is the power that you have, okay? So let's start here. First of all, I brought up the date, the International Fire Code for 2012. So when it finally hits Jersey, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, but the beauty about this is that every building in the U.S. is now have the 5-year rule. Right now, you guys, the fire escapes a lot of times in your cities get caught up in the green card inspection, correct? Every 5 years? Isn't that when it comes? So the state really triggers a fire escape inspection. You guys don't really have a program. So what you need to do is you need to find another way, and we're going to talk about some ideas today. For example, can I go in that house without a smoke detector inspection? All right, so what we teach at the end of this class is work with your smoke detectors to say at the end of your smoke detector inspection, and it's good, ready to occupy, what do you need a copy of with that? Always.
Certification.
A copy of your past certificate. You're not asking for one. So write that down if you guys want to make some notes for yourselves. What should you ask for? Because there's all these triggers. And you basically say, here's your smoke detector, but I just need a copy. You're still going to let them occupy. So, you know, everybody's told me, oh, you start causing roadblocks, you're going to get off. I'm just asking for a copy. If he doesn't have a copy, what does that trigger? A violation. A request for one. You're still going to let him open up the place because he's done everything, you know, new sheetrock, new whatever, and he's got a smoke, and it's signed off, and go ahead, but either he has a current certification, or you request one. Then you can close it. You close it with a current certification, or you close it with a request for one, which is going to take 30, 60, 90 days. Any other ideas? The building department can come into this. In Boston, which we're going to cover a case, what Boston did to help start picking these up is every time you pull a permit in Boston, to close that permit, guess what you need?
The certification.
A copy of the certificate. They don't order certifications. They just say, if you have a building and you're closing this permit, we need a current copy of within the past 5 years of your certification. Otherwise, it creates one, a request for one. Got it? So, this International Fire Code looks like the building code. The International Building Code, testing and certification. All exterior fire escapes systems shall be examined or tested. Right? All exterior fire escape systems shall be examined or tested. And or certified for structural adequacy and safety every 5 years. Every 5 years. I shortened these up just so I can have a conversation with you guys. So now let's take a look at the, this is the 1028.6. Depending on the structural condition, a load test shall be conducted. Is that 1028.6? Depending on the structural condition, a load test may be conducted. A load test shall be conducted. Who orders that load test? Who determines what is depending on the structural condition?
The engineer.
Okay, you want to leave it up to him? Or if you have an engineer that's not doing his job, is not satisfying you, who carries this load test trump card in their pocket? The engineer or the city official? Because here it is, let's look at the NFPA, which kind of clarified it a little bit better. The authority having jurisdiction shall be permitted to approve any existing fire escape stand that has been shown by load test or other satisfactory evidence to have adequate strength. So, the authority having jurisdiction, going back to yours, it says here, any fire escape system found in a state of deterioration or unsafe shall be repaired immediately. Well, who determines that? The engineer too? Or is it you guys? Who orders immediate repairs?
Fire official.
So, depending upon the structural condition, a load test shall be conducted. So who orders that? Because you can get a guy that's not doing his job, and it happens, sadly, gets a repair guy in there to throw paint on it and caulking and only fix the obvious, and you get there and you have some limited structural knowledge, but you can see crap being painted over. What can you order upon any fire escape that has been proven or signed off to you saying, hey, it's fine, by a guy that you want to just stick that in the, which everybody's been doing it for 50 years, you know. The engineer says it's safe, good enough for me. But what's that do to one of your brethren that falls to the ground and cracks his skull open and you go into a funeral? What's that do? What's that piece of paper do?
Nothing.
Nothing. It helps the estate sue somebody and blah, blah, blah. But if you accepted such a document, but you have, did you know that you have the right to order a load test? It says the same thing under the International Fire Code, that fire escape systems shall be examined or tested and or certified, which means what? What certified really means? Satisfactory evidence to have adequate strength. What we're going to teach you today is this, the norm nationwide. You spot repair a fire escape. A load test is standard. Spot repair. 1,000 connections, you fix 500? Give it a paint job? Great, there's a load test coming. You fully refurbish a fire escape, there is no load test, because I'm providing you with other evidence of strength. So let's talk about why the fire escape should have every fastener changed. On a typical building, between its 25th and 50th birthday, did they swap out all the electric by then? All the windows by then? All the plumbing by then? The heating system by then? That building has got everything new because of just the constant code upgrades. You know what never gets touched? Ever? The fire escape. So, we'll teach you in this class that every fire escape system usually has its fasteners changed in the 25th to 50th birthday. Is that reasonable for me to ask you to change your fire escape fasteners? Because 95%, 98% of all the fire escapes in the entire US are bolted connections. Because they heat up in the summer and do this. They cool down in the winter and do this. But if you weld them, what happens? They start ripping the welds. I got a million reasons that I'm going to discuss with you later on of why a weld that has not been x-rayed or load tested is a $1 million problem. Because we went through it. So I'm going to share that with you. So you guys understand that here's your codes. There's got one more code coming. Who has the power for the load test? Engineers or you? I didn't say who performs the load test. Who has the power? But if you are not satisfied, if you don't have, if you weren't given satisfactory evidence of strength, somebody just spit paint on that fire escape that you just a month ago said was in bad condition, and that engineer comes with all the credentials, he's been around for 40, 50 years. What can you order? Got it? If that same engineer changes every fastener and verifies the connection into the building, what is not coming? So what is the incentive here? To spot repair fire escapes or swap them out? If you swap them out now, which should have been done in the 25th and 50th birthday, and how old are they today? 75 years old, so they're already pushing the limit. If they change their fasteners today, how long before a load test can come into play? If the average life of a fastener is 15 to 25 years.
100 years.
That's another 25 years, meaning you're not going to push the word load test for another 25 years on that recently refurbished fire escape. So if you spot repair a fire escape and you load test it, what's coming in 5 years? Another load test. If you spot repair it and if you leave behind any original hardware, every 5 years there's a load test coming because of what? The unknown. But if all of a sudden you eliminate all the unknowns, which is all the fasteners, you swap them out to new fasteners, and the average lifespan of a fastener is 25 years, when's the next time somebody's going to order a load test on that building? So in lieu of a load test, there's an incentive not to load test fire escapes. There's an incentive for you to do what to these 75-year-old structures?
Change all of them.
Change all the fasteners. What about the steel? Any problem with the steel?
As long as it's painted, it should be okay.
Steel is great. Every now and then you get some rotted steel here and there, and that's just swapped out. But the majority of the fire escape, the steel is fine. There's nothing wrong with steel. Got it? OSHA. See if any of you guys know about this. Under OSHA, this is not new, this has been around. We actually picked this up when we were doing the Philadelphia class last year. I found this, I tripped over it, that's why I have a master's degree in reverse stupidity. During repairs or alterations, employees must not occupy a workplace unless the exit routes required by this subpart are available and the existing fire protections are maintained or until alternate protection is furnished. What's that mean? During repairs or alterations?
Whenever we're working.
You got a building that's being gutted, right? And that building has electricians and plumbers and everybody going in there. And it has a fire escape on the outside. What's the first thing you fix on that?
The fire escape.
Why? Because you need two means of egress. So you can shut down any construction site that you walk in there, because you are an employee. Aren't you an employee? So are you even allowed in a building that only has one means of egress? They're going to do it. They're going to do it at the end of the job. So most construction fires happen when? After the job or during the job?
During the job.
So during the job, they only have one means of egress. The fire escape is not what? Certified, because they're going to save it for when? And the money that they have any money at the end of the job to finish that fire escape?
Nope.
So in the code, it says, for OSHA, that that building's not supposed to have anybody. So anybody coming in to pull a permit on any alteration and repairs, so this is tying in with your building department. Instead of at the end, when you're closing the permit, what do they have to do when you're filling out a brand new permit in the city? Why? Because the law says so. The law says that because you just pulled a permit, we gotta make sure that while you're playing with the electric, playing with the plumbing, playing with anything in that building, you could ignite a fire. We need to be able to get in there and save anybody working in there. Electricians, plumbers, tenants, firemen, anybody. So here's your code, 1910.37. This is another trigger. So even though you don't have a 5-year rule, but people pull permits. Now what they must bring?
Certification.
Certification. Now the city's gonna come right down on you. What are you doing? He says, saving the city from lawsuits. Right? So it's a little bit of navigation, but now you have your own codes. And what do you also have backing you up? And can you go into that building and inspect anything if it only has one means of egress?
No.
So now you're breaking the law. If you get hurt in there, what happens? Employees must not occupy a workplace unless the exit routes required by this subpart are available and the existing fire protections are maintained. Or until alternate. Whoa, there's an alternate. What's the alternate? Scaffolding. So you say, the guy goes, it's $100 grand to fix this fire escape. Yeah, okay, then $1,000 a month. Put in some scaffolding in here and go to it, man. We'll fix it last now. Because you provided to me, the city official, alternate. Okay, does that help? You guys are gonna go home, back to your cities and piss off a lot of people, but sadly, sometimes that's what it takes. Either it takes the death, and we have death around you. Not here. We're gonna go to Philly and see death. The fireman in Chicago fell to his death when the ladder gave way. Worker in Colorado Springs, he had one of those cantilevers where the weight was on the nose and that has the cable on the nose. And the owner went out there. She's not going down. And I think one of the management guys, this is the story I heard from the insurance guy. The management guy goes out there, she won't go down. So then the worker comes down, doing the roof. They're working on the roof, using the fire escape to bring all the stuff to the roof. He gets out there on the tippity tip and he goes, hey, I need more weight out here. And 2 or 3 of these other guys came out, getting closer to the end, and all of a sudden it just snapped the cable. But as the cable snapped, a whiplash cable does what to your face and your head?
Cuts it off.
So she's dead, it'll show peace. Now, Station Night Fire, you guys remember, 100 people? Fireworks inside a small little club. A news reporter said, hey, we want to do a story on fire escapes. To say, that you have other ways out. So she said, okay, I told her that 80%, 90% of everything I examined fails. She said, I don't believe it, we have codes, we have laws. And what's supposed to be a 1-minute piece ended up being a 5-minute piece. All I did with her is I brought her into the downtown theater district. I showed her what a falling tread looks like. I showed her what massive rust looks like. And I showed her what missing cement looks like. And that training took all of 15 minutes. She asked me, okay, show me some fire escape. I said, no. Walk anywhere you want and you tell me what passes. And from that, this happened in 2003.
The smoke, the flames, and the frightened faces, all in a firefighter's line of duty. But Chief William Hitchcock remembers the night it wasn't the fire that almost stopped him,
Oh, I was scared to death.
but the fire escape that broke underneath him.
When it ran and just came away from the building.
And our investigation found across Massachusetts more unsafe fire escapes, rusty, deteriorating, crumbling, broken. And what state officials didn't know, the system they set up to keep fire escapes safe is also falling apart.
The potential ramifications are disastrous.
So let's look at this one. This expert ironworker is licensed to build, maintain, and inspect fire escapes. So then over here, for months, we examined dozens of them with alarming results. Looking at this today, would this pass inspection?
No.
In dormitories, at theaters, at home, apartment buildings. Rust is actually eating away the metal of the
Correct.
fire escape.
Correct.
And the bottom line?
It'll get weak and then eventually it'll fall.
This one has rotted connections. This one missing bolts, twisted metal. Would the stairs come down?
No, never come down.
This one a broken tread. So how dangerous
She's a good
is it for
inspector, huh?
people inside this building?
This fire escape is definitely gonna put somebody either in the hospital or it's gonna put somebody in a cemetery.
Fire
evil
escapes
twin
are
brother,
so
Fisher,
critical.
one.
The state building code requires they be certified for structural adequacy and safety every 5 years. But our investigation found that safeguard is simply being ignored. Here's proof. We chose fire escapes at random in Boston, Somerville, Cambridge, Worcester, and here in Quincy. We checked building department files, but there's no fire escape certification. To see if building owners had submitted their mandatory inspection reports. There's no certification in this one either.
Right.
Bottom line, not one we checked in Quincy had been certified as safe. And the Director of Inspectional Services admitted because of staffing shortages, the city has no idea how many other fire escape owners are breaking the rules. And as a result, do you know how many fire escapes in your city are safe or not?
Well, I don't know.
In Worcester, not one we checked was certified. In Somerville,
No.
4 more fire escapes,
To the fault of the facts? Yeah.
not one up-to-date certification. And again, no system for keeping track. How can they get away with that?
I guess that the shortest answer of all is because we don't have the resources to sit here and follow up on these things.
If structural deficiencies are reported, local building inspectors can actually evacuate residents until repairs are made. Would you talk to us on camera about this? No, but when we surveyed 24 more communities, most admitted they had no idea how many fire escapes were certified. In Taunton, inspectors told us they haven't seen a certification in 25 years. Northampton officials said it's a cold day in hell when that happens. In Cambridge, too, not one of our test buildings was certified, and the official in charge would not come out to discuss it. In Boston, where there are more than 8,000 fire escapes, again, according to inspectional services, not one we checked was certified. Officials know they are required to enforce the building code, but they admit they don't always know if owners are breaking the law.
The building code is being ignored.
Right, but it's difficult to write a violation when you don't have knowledge of something like that.
But state officials say for a critical issue like this, communities should know. And they warn, the Massachusetts building code is not optional.
Does it worry you that these fire escapes are not being certified?
This is an important issue and should not be ignored.
That's because after the smoke and flames begin, it'll be too late to learn you've got no way out.
I can't stress it enough, Hank, that these things have to be maintained and someone's got to be watching.
As a result of our investigation, state officials will now issue an alert to local inspectors. Meanwhile, if there's a fire escape on your home or office, you can contact your local building department to make sure it's properly certified. In the newsroom, I'm Hank Philippi Ryan.
Right after this, and again, took this fireman falling almost to his death in '73, and this was 2003. So even though you have a program that needs oversight, that's the problem. With today's reducing budgets, who's overseeing this? So you have to make it a trigger. So can I occupy my building without a sprinkler system test? So I want to come say, this is when you come up with some ideas. So sprinkler system test by a reputable company comes with what attached to it? A certification, because when the sprinklers go off, where do I run to? The fire escape. So I just need a copy. If a copy is not attached, what's it trigger? A request for one. Done. So you don't have to watch this. There's enough things going on in buildings. Occupancy. Do you guys have that? Some cities are now doing, every time you change the rental, there's an inspection. Okay, I'm going into the building. I think this is probably part of maintenance code, right? Property maintenance is the ones that ask. So they go do the inspection. What must they verify in order for it to be a legal residence to occupy? A copy of what? Certifications. Smoke alarms must be tested. When the smoke alarm goes off, where do I run to?
Fire escape.
Fire escape. So what Boston did when this thing came out with her, they made it so that at the closing of any permit, you need to have a copy of the certification or get one. So we can do that. You can speak with your building department and have them at the end of a building permit or at the beginning of the building permit. When we were making these suggestions in the past, did we know about OSHA? Did I know about OSHA? Now that I know about OSHA, where's that really need to fall during the permit process?
On the top.
On the top of it. Now, if they're going through the building permit process, does it stop the building permit process, or that they either have a copy or they're asked to do what during the permit process?
Provide it.
Provide it, meaning it's now part of their whole thing. You're still gonna issue the permit, you're still gonna collect that money, you're still gonna get them going, but you're gonna say, hey, you know, I need to know that everybody that's gonna be working there has 2 ways out. I need to know that my inspector's going in and out in case there's a problem having in and out. And in case during construction you guys screw things up and you light this thing up on fire, what do my firemen have? So what other ideas that you guys want to suggest during this class now that could be a trigger to avoid having somebody babysit fire escape inspections? What's another trigger besides permits, sprinklers, smoke detectors? What else you guys have that's automatic? If somebody doesn't pay their taxes,
Tax lien.
so if there's a tax lien and they're gonna pay it off or do something, what can you do before you turn it back on? Anybody have any other suggestions here that's an automatic that stops people from utilizing or moving forward with your building that you can also ask for certification? Any other ideas, or did we hit them all? Now, under your property maintenance codes, you guys gotta look, there's some fee structures built into all your property maintenance. Boston gets $50, Cambridge gets $100 every time you submit one of these. I was speaking with a city official, and through their council, they have a fee, a reinspection fee situation going on. You guys have some situations where you have normal inspections and then you have special inspections. This could be considered a special inspection, and every one of these gets a fee. $50, $100 could be gotten every time you receive one of these because it's a special inspection, not typical. And you can tie this in with your city. I believe your city council has to go and approve the fee structure. Do you guys have any of those going on? A lot of times through property maintenance, they have that, you know, if you fail the first examination, you gotta come back and do something that's fee structure, so look at that. So this one, a Pulitzer Prize, 4 stories she fell. She died. Look at all the pieces of fire escape coming behind her.
Witnesses say it sounded like an incredible explosion when the fire escape of a Philadelphia apartment building suddenly collapsed and injured 3 people. NBC 10 cameras were there as a friend holds on to one of the victim's hands, who is apparently conscious as the victim is placed into an ambulance by medics. KYW-TV reports a man who was critically injured and 2 women were rushed to local hospitals. Police believe the bolts of the fire escape appear to have been rusted and dislodged from the brick wall of the apartment building. The victims fell more than 30 feet to the ground, and now the incident is under investigation. Worth noting, the complex is more than 100 years old and even on Philadelphia's historic registry. Local reporters are all pointing out the city's licenses and inspections department hasn't filed any violations in the past when it comes to the old building, so Sunday's collapse came without warning. Neighbors say the 3 victims, reportedly all in their 20s, may have been partying on the fire escape landing before the incident. For Newsy, I'm Elizabeth Hagenhart.
When I taught that class back in May 2013, I asked a room of 50 inspectors, who in the room wrote a violation in the past 6 months or 12 months? Nobody raised their hand. So I asked that in here. Who in this room in the past 6 months to a year have written a fire escape violation based on 1028.6? We got 1. Mike.
Got one the other day.
2. Got it, guys? Fire escapes. That's what keeps your guys in the air when they're fighting the fire. Because when all hell breaks loose, guess what they're going to jump on anyway, even though you tell them to stay off of it? 2 people wrote a violation. Lots of resistance. Poor me, why are you doing this to me? You guys are just making up crap to collect more money from a poor struggling guy like me, and I barely have any money. That fire escape hasn't seen any repair at least in 25 years, at least, if not more. I haven't seen a paint job in at least that much time. And we videotaped it, we send a copy for them to review. So guys, only 2 in this room have wrote a violation, so something's wrong. The violation. We're gonna show you that a fire escape rusts from the inside out, and that it's easy to write a violation simply on rust. If it's not maintained, you're already breaking the law. Fire escapes must be structurally sound, must be maintained. You don't have the expertise yet to see when fire escapes are structurally unsound, but you do have the expertise to show that a fire escape has not been routinely maintained, meaning it's all rusty. What we're going to teach you today is that it took 25 years to rust out that fire escape, structurally first, surface paint second. So, as soon as you see rust, that fire escape has not been maintained and the connections are all suspect. We're going to prove that today. By using another fireman who fell almost to his death here in New York that did a case, and he won the case. Because he was crippled, couldn't work, he was 27 years old, and it was supposed to be an accident, a work-related injury. What made this case unique is he sued the owner directly for negligence and won. Because we were able to prove that the owner hadn't touched that fire escape in over 25 years using a metallurgist. And that's where I learned to grow a 1/4 inch of rust, guys, takes 25 years of unchecked growth. To grow half an inch of rust, you need 50 years of leaving it alone. Don't touch it.
Fire escape engineers inspect the summary video.
The actual
in
site
Philadelphia.
in Philly.
All right. Some of the preliminary information that I'm getting out of this is that this piece here, which this is the back, used to be up against the building. These two brackets here used to be going to that 4th, 5th floor up there, where you now see the two blowouts. The blowout on the left and the blowout on the right. And it used to be attached there. And then this staircase, which is here, it went to that platform up there. And that platform up there also had a bracket which is now laying inside the floor below. So they either were going up to that upper floor or they were on this fire escape. And as soon as it let go on this side or up above, which looks like it's all blown out, as soon as it let go there, it basically tore away and fell down, or the bracket that holds one of the legs, one of these legs is sitting on a bracket like this, and it's up there. You can see it on the floor below there. See, there's the bracket right there. There's the other piece that's like in the wall. There's the hole in the wall it used to be. That bracket was there to that corner, and it used to support the staircase that used to go to that other top corner there. So that's how this piece got its way down here, and it kind of did this. But the key is, this is what it looked like, that bracket that used to hold one of the corners, and then it would go from here up to a window that's not here, but it's way up there. But
Got it? See how much blowout was on that cement? Now, if this owner, who just got sued, I think on the 27th, the same guys that, I don't know if they represented Sandusky or they were part of the plaintiffs against him, Klein and Perkins or something, they just filed suit. Do you think they're going to bring the city into play? In 50 years, has there been a fireman in that building? For some reason? In 50 years, has there been, I know they probably didn't have any violations in 50 years, and that's some of the cases, but in 50 years, have they had a building inspector done some other routine? In 50 years, has the means of egress been verified in any way? Oh, and in 50 years, did he think he had a design professional, whether it be an architect or a structural engineer, do an envelope study of some kind in 50 years? What kind of rent? So they're gonna go back, and when things like this happen, and I know these things happen because we were involved in one, everybody gets sued. In our case, it was the city of Chicago got pulled into a situation that we're gonna discuss today. Okay? So they will pull you in. Here's the main reason of what happened there. A lot of people don't realize that the fire escape, and I'm going to go into more detail, I'm just going to show you what happened at the Philadelphia one. This is your veneer. Your veneer and your steel ties into the mortar behind the veneer. A lot of people think this is the structural. Structural is back there, but when water gets between the veneer and that little crack between the masonry, That's what rots out. So what I think happened on the Philadelphia one is the through bolts that went into the building, between the veneer and rotted out the through bolt. And it was only a matter of time when somebody stepped on the hand grenade and it pulled off and it dropped 3 kids to the ground, all in their 20s. The 22-year-old student, the male, died at the hospital. So this is what we're going to talk about today, the unknown. And see these rusty tiers? How many buildings have you guys seen where you've got all those long dragon teeth, we call them, rusty tiers coming out? That's indicating that the water's getting in, it has only one way to get out. And in the meantime, while you leave it alone for 50 to 75 years, what's it do to all your steel inside there? Feeding water to it from the roof and the parapet wall every day through that little 1/4 inch or that little 1/2 inch that they, is the veneer in your building. This is what collapses fire escapes, okay?
How do you serve it? You can't see it, if it's behind the veneer, how are you supposed to see it to have it certified?
This is a building in Chicago, 22 stories that they were turning into a what do you call it, a Section 8 housing. And if it wasn't for the eye of an architect and engineer who basically went and got this information, says, listen, I got some evidence, and they did some opening. So you can open up the wall, okay, and spend $200 to $500 per wall to open it up, see it, repair it, and then have the mason guy come and close it. Or you can let sleeping dogs lie, drill a 3/4 hole 6 inches away into the building, put a plate on the back, on the inside, put a new mechanical, put an angle clip on that side, then tie this back into this. So now do I care about this anymore? It's called duplication. So verify, repair, or duplicate whatever's cheaper for the client. So on these 50, 75, 100-year-old buildings, what do you really want to go investigate and start pulling away brick? What do you want to do? Duplicate it. It's part of one of your questions on the confidence test. Got it? All right. Colorado
A
Springs.
startling scene in downtown Colorado Springs Wednesday after a man falls to his death.
I was just walking up the street to get to the bus stop, and the cops were right there, told me I couldn't come this way.
Police say the victim and several others were working on the roof of this privately owned building when the man fell.
He may have fallen a distance anywhere from 15 to 20 feet is what's being investigated right now.
Tragically, the man died on scene. It's believed he fell from the fire escape and not the roof or a window, although how it happened is still unknown.
That's what's being investigated right now to determine the actual cause of the accident itself.
Right now, police say the death is not criminal and is being called an industrial accident.
There were several witnesses, individuals who were working with the deceased party, and so we've interviewed them as witnesses in this investigation.
It's really sad. I feel bad for his family. I mean, I don't know him, but prayers and best wishes to his family for sure.
Others in the area expressing similar concerns and well wishes, visibly distraught by the day's events.
I mean, I can't even imagine it just coming out to do your job one day, just fall off a building. Like, it's really sad.
He was 41 years old, vendor, working on the roof, using the fire escape as a method to get up there. Now, in Chicago, one of our members that belongs to our group, his father fell 7 stories to his death, fixing a fire escape. And he's a professional, 57, I think. And he knew his stuff, but he pulled the wrong bolt or pulled something, or he was stepping on a hand grenade anyway, not realizing just how delicate it was. So a lot of these fire escapes, they'll grab anybody. They'll eat anybody. They'll eat a tenant, they'll eat a fireman, they'll eat a vendor. I even got birds and squirrels on these fire escapes that I've taken pictures of. It'll grab everybody, but fire escapes are made. They'll either save lives or take them. And you guys already don't want to get on them anyway because you already fear for your own life. But as you know, if you don't use that fire escape in the first 3 to 5 minutes, what kills the tenant? Fire or the smoke? So you're gonna go, you're gonna be recovering some bodies out of there unless you can just jump on that fire escape and you feel safe. And imagine running down a smoky alleyway. Imagine that. Running down a smoky alleyway and you look up at that fire escape and it's got what? A white tag on it. What do? You run back to get your ladder? What do? Get on it. Why? Because it's got a tag on it now. We needed something to tell people. So, and if you're walking down the alleyway and the law is like Seattle, every fire escape has to have a tag. Tacoma, Portland, Oregon has to have a tag. And you walk down an alleyway, there is no tag on that. not even a yellow, not even a red. What do? Hit a violation. So during your walks, any fire escape that has no tag, what do? Write them up. Some additional deaths. Boston, a woman fell 5 stories. Her boyfriend lived in this building, and this is a 5-story on a hill next to another 5-story, but this 5-story went over the roof of the other 5-story. They had a beautiful deck. So what do you do when you have your fire escape that goes to your window, goes to a roof deck that nobody uses late at night? Just came back with some beers, and you and your girlfriend, 25+ years old. The phone rings. He's the one that normally goes to get the phone, but she goes back, I'll get it, and it's dark, and she's a little tipsy, and there's no railing there. 5 stories to her death, she landed. Okay, so fire escape missing pieces. There's another one that we were involved in. This is at the Rhode Island border. These fire escape, I'm on a fire escape, there's another fire escape there, and this one fell 12 feet. Up on the 3rd floor. The owner of this building, him and his son did the roof themselves. And like any good auto mechanic, you know, you have the box of bolts left over, what do you do with those? Throw them out. They don't need them. So when they went, they were selling some condos, because they made this onto condos. So a couple of the real estate agent, the owner, one of the trustees, there was about 5 people, and the fire escape slid up. Look at all that rust there. So they put back a rusty fire escape with less bolts to it to anchor them. And basically, they fell from there to there. Nobody died. Each one had a cell phone. The first call you make, your lawyer, ask your lawyer to do what?
Start the lawsuit.
Call the fire department, because you'll wait there so they can get some good photographs. Nobody died, but that caused a huge lawsuit. I'm involved in another case in Iowa. This owner owns a lot of real estate in the university area. His men fixed the window and some siding. To do that, they have to remove the fire escape to fix the window and the siding. And then his men put the fire escape back, and instead of a through bolt, they put this lag screw back through the through bolt hole. So a 1/2-inch hole with a 1/2-inch lag bolt does what?
Doesn't hold.
So they're up there watching fireworks on 4th of July, 2 girls and a guy. All of a sudden, boom, the fire escape lands on this roof, lands on the ground, blood everywhere. And where'd they throw the evidence? In a field 8 blocks away, and that's where we found the smoking gun. That's what that video shows. There's in a field, everybody walking around would pull up the bracket, and what's still on the bracket? The smoking gun. So then they put it back. They're so fearful that not only did they put the through bolts back in, they actually put a leg on this thing, right onto the shingles. Any PT wood underneath it? Nah, don't need that. Over here, this actually makes turns before it goes onto a ladder. Used to be a hole there with a lag screw holding it in that corner. When I went back to, since they put it back, I went back and I was able to pick up the bottom and walk it out, and walk it back in and drop it back where. So, again, a lot of times, if it's not being watched by a professional or being done professionally, these things occur. There's a lot of fire escapes in your city that showed up overnight, no permit, pre-existing non-conforming, or do you have the right to make them put in a brand new code-compliant fire escape?
There's the code.
So how do you do that? How do you verify whether or not that fire escape went up in the middle of the night?
Tell them to prove that you had permits.
Yeah, you check the permits. Number 2, a lot of times when you have it investigated, it's built with using non-industry standard techniques. So if you get someone that's really giving you a hard time, what can you order upon them since they have no permit for that 3rd floor apartment fire escape, all welded with, using, plumbing pipe for the rails?
Road test.
Just make them put in a brand new one. Why? No permit. Built not to standards. So if somebody's giving you a hard time, otherwise, can they modify it and bring it up to code? If they're nice to you, will you be nice to them? Otherwise, if there's no permit for that 3rd floor apartment, and they bought it 12 years ago, and the guy before them did that, does it matter? If it was not the code back then, are they allowed to keep it and grandfather it in?
But right now, firefighters are
Bridgeport,
taking down
Connecticut.
the ladders and rolling up the hoses. But earlier tonight, when they pulled up, there were flames coming out of the side of the building. Firefighters say it was one of the scarier moments because when you pull up to a building and you see children and mothers hanging off the side of the fire escape, smoke swirling around them, isn't that scary, scary stuff? They got up there, they got the ladders up, and they said nobody got hurt.
The fire escape, there was 3 or 4 people hanging off the fire escape. They couldn't get off. They were just on the fire escapes. I had people hanging in the fire escapes at the rear of the building, and on this side of the building, we had a bunch of people on that fire escape.
Well, about 50 people were displaced inside this building. Our firefighters say there's good news tonight. It looks like everybody will be allowed to go back in except the one unit where the fire was in. They said that's good luck to them tonight. I'm Bob Wilson, on the scene of Bridgeport, News 8.
So a couple of problems with this news story. Everybody was allowed back into the building. Everybody was trapped on the fire escapes because none of them functioned. Does that make any sense?
No.
So everybody was allowed over, and this was, we inspected these fire escapes after the fact, like 6 months to 9 months later. They were in a state of collapse. And everybody, then again, Section 8 housing, you know, basically slumlord kind of, and everything else was up to code. Sprinklers were up to code, alarms were up to code. What was not up to code? Fire escapes. So the other point is that these guys showed up, and were they fighting a fire or was this a rescue mission? Precious seconds that everybody's concentration is on what? Getting everybody off the fire escape. Get ladders, get these people down. What happens? What's going on with the building? So this happens. This is that typical. You guys have a lot of residential apartment complexes, thousands of people living in those kind of conditions where it's 25 to 50 units. And as soon as they arrive, the fire escapes can't hold the tenants and can't hold the firemen. But as soon as people get on them, and the ladders will not come down, because who's supposed to take people off a fire escape? You, or are they supposed to self-evacuate? So why couldn't they self-evacuate?
Didn't work.
Not some of the ladders. There was 8 fire escape systems there. None of the ladders worked. They wouldn't come down. But everything was okay because they were allowed. Everybody was allowed back except for that one apartment. That's the only apartment that burned. So again, how many people wrote a violation in here? 1028.6. That's your code. Fire escape must be structured style, must be kept maintained. So if you go out and the fire escape has no paint on it, what do you write? You never write scrape and paint violations. You will write, I want it inspected, repaired, tested. Don't say certified yet. Just say, I want you to inspect it, I want you to repair it, and then I want it, I'm sorry. Now I'm saying it backwards. So I need the fire escape examined, I need it repaired, then I need it tested. Because you're gonna get a call back and they're gonna ask you a question. What do you mean by inspection? So you say, well, you need to go on our website, and some communities have this on their website. So you can either copy and paste this off of here, just copy and paste it onto your website, and it tells you go get it examined by a design professional or others acceptable to the building official. That's the code. Got it? Well, I'm gonna repair it and me and my Uncle Charlie are gonna fix it. So, well, it's fine. I may or may not allow it. If it's, called a homeowner's permit. Can you do a homeowner's permit on an investment property?
No.
Okay, so there's rules for repair with some guidance from this guy. Could or could not use a permit. If I'm altering a fire escape, I need a permit. If I'm painting a fire escape, I need a permit. If I'm changing a fastener, do I need a permit?
Yes.
Some people will disagree with you, but that's okay. You get to choose. But when you change it, routine maintenance. Does routine maintenance need a permit? So it's all, if they're doing a full refurb, so because they're gonna, you wrote the violation, when you bring in the information, okay, you can determine on whether or not you want that to also include a permit, which is not you, it goes to the building department anyway. Got it? But routine maintenance, painting and changing of bolts, in some states, they don't want a permit on it. You alter the fire escape, you extend it, you change pieces out and stuff, guess what you need? Permit. Engineer oversight? Design professional oversight? Anything over $35,000? You need to treat it as a commercial? oversight by a design professional from beginning to end. That's what the code requires, isn't it? Anything over 35,000 cubic? How quickly you hit 35,000 cubic? Pretty quick, right? And you gotta paint it. How about the EPA? What's the EPA say about everything that was painted 25, 50 years ago?
Lead abatement.
Got a lead abatement. By the way, it's renovator's license. It's not the astronaut suits with oxygen tanks and full envelope. It's the white suits, the mini mask, the hands scraping plastic on the ground, collecting everything. Renovators class for 8 hours. So every construction company, painting company, and ironworker should have their renovator's license. Otherwise, the fine and fee for doing something on a fire escape without a renovator's license is $35,000 per fine, per violation. Okay, the enforcement is coming from the EPA, not a lot of times from you guys. Here's the other important fact because of that. Because it has lead paint, can I weld it anymore?
No.
So if anybody's welding on any of your fire escapes, is that legal or illegal?
Illegal.
Illegal. So, and because 98% of all the fire escapes in the United States are bolted connection anyway, are they supposed to be welding it? No. And how easy it is to fix a tread when you just have to take the bolt out, remove the rust, and put what back in? Another bolt. If the tread is destroyed, can they weld that tread back together? No, they can replace that tread with another piece of tread. Can that tread be welded? Brand new steel. Yeah. And then they bolt it back into its position. Okay? All right, so live load testing. Here's some examples of live load testing. People watching parades. You got some cities here that parades are watched. Yeah? Now this is mass suicide. Wow. Okay? So, if, again, one of those things, can you have management companies that have external fire escapes, you know, basically keep people off, no plants, no nothing? You have to make your ordinances that basically say such things to help people basically reduce the risk. So, you guys remember the day when there was no AC? And how many times have you guys had to take somebody out through the fire escape because for some reason the doors couldn't be utilized? And firemen have basically evacuated somebody through the back fire escape. This is what hurts and kills people. A lot of non-smoking buildings. Where do you smoke?
Outside on the fire escape.
Weddings are now taking pictures. You gotta burn a candle. Where do you burn it? On the fire escape. So, a lot of things have changed, and so the fire escapes are now coming back into vogue again as how you get upstairs to your neighbor, not through the internal, but through the external. All right, who inspects fire escapes? Okay? The code is pretty clear. Design professionals or others acceptable to the building official. The only two other license or certifications in the country is out of Boston and out of LA. Boston puts out a license that's a G3 license, and it lets you repair and paint and certify fire escapes. LA has a certified tester program, and you basically test with the fire department, and you get a certified tester's license, and you test. So those are the only two licenses, and every state will not allow those two licenses. Or a lot of times, different states will allow you that license, but then you still piggyback it with a design professional on the back end when you're wrapping it all up. That's it.
What's considered a design professional?
Architects and engineers. There's a gray area there that says somebody in the field that satisfies you. So you could have somebody that's an expert, that is neither an architect nor an engineer, that could satisfy you. You can also have a structural engineer come into your office, and he's a complete bonehead. You know what I'm saying? But you have to accept credentials, you know, but doesn't mean that you can't order the load test, because who ordered the load test? When you got a bonehead coming in, I got some boneheads that I'm going to show you guys here. What do you order on them when you're not getting the other satisfactory evidence of strength? What do you order? What do you pull out of the back pocket?
The
Trump card.
So, if you follow the national model, anybody takes any existing fire escape right now and you spot repair it and you leave behind 50, 75, 100-year-old square head bolts and fasteners, what are you going to order on them?
Load test.
If they take those remaining square head bolts, rivets, and connections into the building and they replace them, what are you not going to order every 5 years?
The load test.
So how long before a load test comes in if they change every fastener and reconnect it back into the building? I always say 15 to 25 because they have to keep maintaining it, because you can quickly ignore a fire escape and you'll order another load test in 10 years because they stop painting it again. So it's not that you don't touch it for 20, you still get the 5-year inspection regime on them. But if they ignore it again, they don't keep it maintained, you can order a load test sooner. You can order a load test anytime you want. The truck backs up into the fire escape, you can order another load test, even though it was just fully refurbished. Got it? So engineers, architects, and you don't know how many people after you guys write a violation said the city official was just here and he said my fire escape was fine. He just needs you to give him a piece of paper that you agree with the city official that says there's nothing wrong with it. So we get that too, that you guys are inspecting fire escapes. Fire escape inspectors, we talked about the only 2 licenses out there. Fort Lee Fire Escape. This is actually the building where they used to, because a lot of people don't know that Fort Lee was the Hollywood in the 1900s for the silent picture. This is one of the studios for the silent picture. And now it's a big storage warehouse. This fire escape pass or fail? Right? Well, this is the same fire escape. When I was called by the secretary. We just had received a report from an engineer that says, fix one of the treads, scrape one of the rails, and I'll certify this thing. So we came in and looked at it, because it was not the owner. The owners lived in Florida. So this is the, and if you read, it has 4 things to do, which is minor. This is our examination. The fire escape was condemned. That's how tall it was. So this is in Fort Lee. So this is at the beginning when we start teaching class to say, this is an opinion letter. Oh, by the way, when you read down at the bottom, what's it say? To the best of my information, knowledge, and belief, which is what? It's a parachute that they use when there's a dead person on the ground. Okay? So here's another one in Chicago. There's a big factory, and they had about 10 of these. But instead of the brackets coming from underneath and holding like this, it had the suspended brackets coming down and grabbing. And they just wanted you to paint this thing, even though I said, well, before I paint it, I gotta make sure it's safe for me to take a look at it. And in the examination, I found all this rotted up. And I told the management company, I said, hey, I can't just paint this. This is gonna drop firemen and people. I called the city official and said, hey, and a lot of their responses, if there's an engineer that says it's fine, what am I gonna do? But if you see this, and some engineer says it's fine, what can you order?
Load test.
Load test. To do what? Prove it. Right? Water, sandbags, or cables. You yank 3,000, 5,000 pounds. And we have a load test here to show you guys what a load test looks like. Dragging some bags around. This is a youth detention center. When you first walk up to it, what's it got? Rust, right? On the surface, right? Needs a paint job, right? But you get underneath, what do you see? This is a juvie hall, 17 and under, into an interior courtyard. This is what rust looks like. Remember, we were an expert witness on a fireman's case, and the metallurgist said it takes 25 years to grow a 1/4 inch of rust. It takes 50 years to grow a 1/2 inch of rust. So we're basically telling you that you're not going to ever walk on a fire escape ever again unless it's certified. And from the ground or looking out a window, you will be able to determine whether the fire escape is structure sound or has been kept maintained. If you see rust, has it been kept maintained? Rust starts where? From the outside in or the inside out? We're going to prove that. And in order for it to finally get the whole fire escape rusty, what did it have to do? Does it eat the surface rust first, or it eats the connections first? All the bolts? It eats the connections first, and then it starts eating the rest of the paint outward. So you're going to step out that once you look outside and it looks like it's an all rusty fire escape? You're walking underneath and you're looking up. And we do classes like that. A lot of times some of these classes are 2-part. 3 hours in the morning, a lunch, then the afternoon, we go to a downtown. We just walk around. So if you ever get online on YouTube, we have about 1,000 videos, and we have videos of a lot of them in New Jersey, believe it or not. One of the major states that have moved along in this has been Jersey. But all over the country, I was doing downtown walkarounds with you guys, and From the sidewalk, you can look up now and write a violation. Got it? So if you wanna go online, just type on Farscape seminar, Farscape inspection, and just watch one of those in action. Because if you stop walking on them, going up or going down, this is what's gonna occur. Do you guys know why we bring our little 3-pound sledgehammer? Is that a load test? That's a tap test, a ping pong test. When we ping it, what's that mean for that tread? Even though it has rust in it. Good. When it pongs, what's it mean? Hollow. It's gonna do what? It's gonna drop you. So how much rust there? About a ½ inch?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. So you guys gonna walk around with hammers? You guys gonna get on these 50, 75, 100-year-old farscapes? It's third-party examination, you're not supposed to get on it. But from the ground and out, looking out any window, what can you determine? Whether it's been maintained. If it's got a lot of surface rust, what's it mean? Because you just proved that it has not been routinely maintained, which is in what code? Then in your code, it must be routinely maintained, meaning you minimally must have a paint job for you to pass it. But because it's got a lot of surface rust, what's it mean to every one of those structural connections? What's the word? Compromise, they're suspect. Who determines how much suspect they are? The design professional. Once the design professional gets you a report, and he's got 1,000 connections, and he's gonna fix 500, and he's gonna leave 500, he's gonna caulk it and paint it with oversight, what are you gonna order on him? When does he know that?
Right away.
Right at the beginning. So then he says, well, what do you mean? He says, do you want his opinion? You want his opinion on the remaining square head bolts and rivets and connections into the building, or you want fact? You want assurance?
I want insurance.
So if you want assurance, not insurance, because that will
I'm
cost.
gonna need insurance now.
When you get assurance, so that he won't use the word guarantee, so assurance comes from a load test. Assurance comes when you don't want to order the load test, what do you get? Other evidence of strength, which is on the codes, which it says depending on the structural condition, a load test may be ordered. Who orders that load test? If we went in and changed every bolt for you, have we provided you with other evidence of strength? If we've either verified the connection or duplicated them, are you still going to order a load test on that client? If we changed every fastener and verified the connection or duplicated the connection back into the building, do we care about the rusty tears anymore? I mean, the dragging teeth on the side? We're going to clean them, because those have to go, but there's no load test. For how many years? 25, 15 to 25, because if they stop painting it, what are you going to do in 15 years? Load test. Confidence test. Let's take a look.
Why don't we take a 10-minute break?
10-minute break. Coffee refills. Sugar. Guys, if anybody has any direct